Hey, thank you all for joining me back here at Brian for Liberty. As you can see, we've done some upgrades, so the video came out a little late today, but I hope it's worth it. Been putting a lot of work in to try and get this set up so that we can get a little bit better video quality out to you folks who are taking the time to tune in and listen. So this is going to be just on the channel. This isn't going out to the podcast, but we'll have a fresh podcast tomorrow for those of you who do tune into the podcast. Again, that's Brian for Liberty on Spotify. But got on this morning. I always, one of the things I like to do in the morning is go and see what the late night guys had to say. I always enjoy their take on things. Got into the John Oliver video this morning, and he had a lot of fun beating up on Donald Trump for really reaching out to a really minuscule kind of a, maybe you've never even heard of him on American Network or Only American Network, some nonsense. Anyway, really beat up on Donald for a while on that. The network, really, I think he probably gave him more publicity than they've ever gotten in their lives, other than Donald calling on him at the White House press briefings. But one of the things that really stuck out at me in this video, and I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but let's face it, I mean, one of the things that I think is really damaging for the United States, for our democracy, our republic, is bias. There's political bias in terms of, this incredible loyalty to a political party, and there's also media bias. And I'm not a big fan of media bias. I think that the media should try and stay as neutral as possible. Now, before I get comments and all that stuff, I understand John Oliver is not a journalist. He's an entertainer. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing, which is entertaining people. But, if you're going to take shots at one side, take shots at the other. Believe me, there's plenty of comedy on both sides of this thing to make me laugh. But there's one specific thing that he said that really kind of stuck out at me and kind of bugged me. And I'm going to share that clip with you right now. So you can take a look. Here is John Oliver on his show. And here's that clip.
Instinctively, you know that when Trump likes something that much, it's an immediate red flag. Take this capybara with an orange on its head. It seems excellent. But if Trump were to repeatedly say, I love that capybara with an orange on its head, you just know we're about to find out all the times that it wore blackface in college.
So I have a real problem with the whole, if Donald Trump likes something, it must be bad take here. Look, like I said, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I get where he's going with this and taking some shots at the president, and that's perfectly fine. But the whole everything he likes must be terrible thing, that's a really, really ridiculous piece of bias. Donald Trump likes, Girl Scout cookies, they must be horrible. I mean, come on. The bias is a little too obvious there for me. So I didn't really care for that. But, he's an entertainer. He's doing his thing. And of course, we always have to take a look at AOC. She's always a bunch of fun. I think a lot of you have already seen this clip, and she is just railing on this bill that's got to get passed. We're talking about the stimulus, and we've got to get this thing done. There are people out there who need help, and we're fighting over this, and there's going to be this huge bailout. But now we have a choice to make. We either have to pass a bad bill or nothing's going to get done. So here's AOC.
Hospital workers do not have protective equipment. We don't have the necessary ventilators. But we have to go into this vote eyes wide open. What did the Senate majority fight for? One of the largest corporate bailouts with as few strings as possible in American history. Shameful. The greed of that fight is wrong for crumbs, for our families. And the option that we have is to either let them suffer with nothing or to allow this greed and billions of dollars, which will be leveraged into trillions of dollars, to contribute to the largest income inequality gap in our future.
So obviously pretty spun up, pretty passionate about the bill, has to get signed, angry at the Republicans for throwing a bunch of pork in there, or bailouts for the big corporations. And let me tell you something, she's 100% spot on here. $500 billion taxpayers on the hook for bailout loans. The Federal Reserve is pumping trillions of dollars into the banking system. There's absolutely no reason that the taxpayer should be on the hook for $500 billion. $500 billion that AOC, again, is 100% correct when she says this is going to get leveraged into trillions of dollars. My issue is that we've got to get this bill passed. And I hate that. I hate that idea that we've got to get a bill passed just for the sake of getting a bill passed. We're talking about $2 trillion of taxpayer money. If you think there's $500 billion, if you think 25, no. Yeah, 25% of that bill, I had to do the math in my head there for a second. If you think 25% of this bill is garbage and corporate bailouts and terrible, you're talking about $500 billion of taxpayer money. Stand on your principles and vote against the bill then. Let's not push this piece of bad legislation, through just to get a bill done. First of all, I think we're way too early in the process for a $2 trillion bill. We don't know where this is going to go. We don't know what the economy is going to look like when this thing all kind of comes to rest, hopefully sooner than later. But now we've got $2 trillion that we've spent. We were $23 trillion in debt going in. We added a budget bill that added another $1 trillion to the debt. Now we're spending $2 trillion on a stimulus bill. We're going to have falling tax revenues. So, hey, maybe we can take a minute. There are safety net programs out there. There is unemployment insurance, which I don't understand why unemployment needs to be so much higher now than it was before. And part of my worry there is this a way to get the federal government more involved in the unemployment insurance moving forward? Are we going to end up with a long-term deal where now we're subsidizing unemployment at the federal level? And that's a bad thing. You put that much money into people's pockets for not working, and you're disincentivizing work. So why are we passing this bill? If it's a bad bill, then it's a bad bill. Get your people together on the Democrat side and stop this bill and say we're going to take this pork out, or we're going to take these bailouts out, because we're not going to hand these big corporations $500 billion. I am a firm defender of corporate profits. I think that these corporations have every right to make as much money as they possibly can, but I also think they have a responsibility to be in a solid cash position, understanding that recessions happen, understanding that unexpected things happen in the economy, and that if they're going to take these massive profits, then they should be in a position, in a cash position, to be able to maintain their business without having to go and borrow money from the taxpayer. And again, like I said before, the Federal Reserve's pumping trillions of dollars into the banking system, and there's no reason that the banks and these big corporations can't work together to figure out a way to make the debt sustainable until this crisis passes. I don't think this is a good idea to put the taxpayer on the hook for these loans. So to further that, we get the bill, and when she's talking about when AOC is talking about what she wanted from this bill and where its shortfalls are, well, here's what she had to say.
The thing is that people are talking about these cash infusions, and there's not much that a small $1,000 can do for a family if they are out of work and still need to pay rent, student loans, major consumer loans, a mortgage.
So what you see is that not only did this bill have $500 billion in it for corporate bailouts, which I agree with AOC on, that we shouldn't be bailing out these corporations and writing a check from the taxpayer for $500 billion, but you're saying that the money that we did get for the people is relatively low impact. So we passed a bill with a $500 bailout for corporations and is going to make a minimal impact on the working person. Why did we pass this bill? Why do we always have to do something just for the sake of getting something done? It's okay to not do something. Again, we're early in the process. Let's let this play out a little bit. Let the people fall onto these state programs that already exist. There's unemployment in every state. There is a Medicaid system throughout the country to help people who end up losing health insurance. There's safety net programs out there. Let's let this play out for a little bit, and then we can write a smart bill when we have a better idea of what everything's going to look like as this crisis starts to abate, and we can pass legislation that actually makes sense. So, I agree we shouldn't be bailing these corporations out. I agree. There's some stuff in there that's no good. But at the end of the day, we got to hold our representatives accountable and say, if the bill's not good, then don't pass the bill. We don't have to do stuff just to get stuff done. You're spending other people's money. So that's kind of my issue with that. So those are kind of the things that jumped out at me this morning when I got on and checked out the news. I wanted to get this video out a little bit earlier, but we've made some improvements here. Again, like I said, kind of spent the day setting this up and trying to figure out how it all works, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please take a minute, and it doesn't even take a minute. Just take a quick second and click that subscribe button. I'm going to try and bring you a video every day, and we will see you guys next time.